Hi, this is Kim Denson, 9th grade world geography teacher at Baton Rouge Magnet High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I will be showcasing a lesson on map projections. This lesson was originally an hour-and-a-half long, and I've reduced it to segments that will be about 15 minutes. We're going to start off with a balloon activity, which is my hook for the lesson, and then you will see the objectives of the day revealed afterwards. Your shoulder partner is going to be to your left. You decide what's north and south, you do that, okay? All right, once you've got a rough outline of the continents, then slowly let the air out, let it deflate, and then the two of you together collaborate, and y'all decide what has to be best way. Like, you can cut it as many ways as you think you need to make it lay flat, but you can't cut pieces off of it to make it lay flat. There's a plug on this side.
Yeah, and we have to be able to lay it down completely flat. To cut it down the middle. Yeah. Like cut it like how a map does, like in between North America and Asia. Okay. So now we can let air out of it. Look at how cool it looks.
Wait, dang, not that much. Alright, cut. Cut slow, cut slow.
All right, here's the countdown.
It might make it later.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. It's got to be on the paper. All right. Right here. All right, Joe's group, Claire's group. Who was it on this side that I said there was? Us. All right, Juan's group. All right, so here is what they did that some of you did not do. Okay? Oceans. 3 out of the 5 oceans if you include the southern. All right, so that map was purposely cut in a certain way to try to do what?
The oceans.
To try to preserve the oceans. All right, but then look over here at this map behind Travis's head. All right, on that map, and I know Reagan and Asia and Travis are a little bit closer than the rest of you, what did they do, Reagan, on that map instead?
They cut up into...
All right, so what I want you to do real quickly is just respond. Respond to the observation that you've just made. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you how I would have cut the balloon. Except I'm hungry, and I haven't had lunch yet. And so I'm going to do it with an orange. And then as soon as this class is over with, you got something too. Let's go. All right, let's go. Respond, please, your observations. Hold it like that for you so you can see. And there goes Australia again. Okay. And even then, can I lay it flat? No. No. And even then, I'd have to sit there and press on it and push on it and press and push. And then, obviously, what happened to the continents? I mean, I did have continents drawn on there. What happened to the continents? They're all cut up. I cut them, they're all cut up. This is what we call, basic geometry. It's impossible, right? It's impossible to take a round 3D Earth and project it onto a flat surface. With that said, the objectives for this lesson today are to compare advantages and disadvantages of both maps and globes, explain the meaning and purpose of map projections, evaluate the use of propaganda found in maps and map projections, and analyze map distortion, which some of you have already heard that word, so I'm excited about that, in terms of the continents and the ocean size, their shape, and then distance and direction on Earth. So those are our 4 objectives for this lesson that will continue into Tuesday as well. Okay? All right. With your shoulder partners again, I'm going to come around and pick up your scissors and your Sharpies while you are going to turn your paper on the back. So turn your anticipation guide on the back. And I want you and your partner to each collaborate and come up with one advantage of... Come on, Neil. Help us out. Help us out. That's what I'm looking for. All right? Globes do not have the amount of detail that maps have. All right, because there's basically size, shape, all of that can get distorted in one way or another. All right, I'll call on you, Bianca. Go ahead.
I said that it could like confuse people's understanding because like on a map, like if people see like one Austin right
Ooh,
here.
I am
and
so
one
glad
right
you
there.
said that because we're going to get into that today. That it absolutely, it can provide a misconception.
Falsified information.
Look at you, girl. Go ahead. Right. All right. It does. It implies something that is not true sometimes because of the distortions. All right. I like that. Good job. Okay. So a map projection is just a map maker's way. It is just a cartographer's way of trying to represent this round 3D Earth onto a flat surface, which you just figured out with the balloon activity that it's not that easy, is it? It's not as easy as just making a few cuts and laying it down flat. And so the word distortion simply means an abnormal or an unrealistic viewpoint of some feature on Earth. Okay? Some features, some characteristics. It could be something gets enlarged. It could be something gets reduced in size. It could be something
That's why
there's so many different projections. All right, because one map projection may be good for showing areas in the middle latitudes. Another map projection may be best for showing the polar areas of the world. Another map projection may be best just for showing those areas near the equator. And because of that, that may mean that one map projection is good for showing shape. The Americas in the middle. You're used to seeing the prime meridian. So that's a great observation that you just came up with. That's not necessarily, you know, a distortion with size. It's more of a distortion with shape because we've messed up the continent of Asia, haven't we? We've cut it up. Now we can't really tell what the true shape of it is. Okay? Wrap around with me, Kaylin. Wrap around with me. No, other way, silly. Like this? Is this what you mean?
But like where you can see it. And you'll see that those two match.
Shelby, have you learned anything about map projections before? Because that is exactly how a Mercator projection is made. And that's what this is. You are a genius. You are a genius. That is exactly how. I want to go back to something Bianca said about perception. It is one of the projections, the Mercator projection, that has over time influenced people's perception of how big or how small a place is. And in fact, this particular map was used in schoolroom to the academic vocabulary section of your notebooks because this is a great lead-in to what we're talking about next. All right, this is academic vocabulary. First thing we have to do is we have to kind of understand what propaganda is. So what happens, guys, when maps often end up reflecting the thinking of the map makers? And at the same time, how does that influence the viewers? So in your academic vocabulary, Common Core word, propaganda. All right? And ethnocentric. So, ethnocentric, what's the root word there? Ethnocentric. Ethnic. All right? Like ethnic groups. All right? So ethnocentric, centered, is evaluating other peoples and cultures according to the standards of their own culture, all right? Which is why you see most maps with the prime meridian in the middle, because that is Europe-centered. The word propaganda, which you are more familiar with, which is a noun, propaganda is a type of information, all right? And that type of information has a purpose, and that purpose is to influence, and that purpose is to deceive. So it's usually going to be extremely biased, extremely misleading, and it's used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. Well, Ms. Denson, we're talking about maps here. Why are you bringing up ethnocentric and propaganda? Bianca, you brought something up earlier. I was very impressed with what you brought up earlier. I want you to think back to Unit 1 when we talked about the concept of perceptual regions. Somebody raise your hand. Who remembers what a perceptual region is? Okay, all right, Passion?
How television and media has caused people to think a certain
right, and what are some examples that we used in class when we were talking about perceptual regions? It's called cartographic propaganda. Cartographic propaganda. And these are maps. They use stereotypes, they use satire, they use humor, and they use, some form of inaccuracy, to project and influence others. This is actually from the viewpoint of Asian countries and how they see the West. This is the one that's really disturbing to me, and I had to think twice about whether or not I should show it. But this is current. This is something that I saw on the internet just recently. And have any of you seen this one before? All right. I mean, the perception of Mexico. If you live in Mexico, all you do is drink tequila and eat tacos. So if you live in South America, we're talking about map projections. How can map projections influence perception? All right, we're back to our Mercator projection that Kaylin and I just got through holding up. During the Cold War, really how big it is relative to the rest of the world, not the way it is. And now I've got the three of them together, so you can kind of see here. So if you were a U.S. voter in 1960, I mean, which would scare you the most? The top one or the bottom one scare you the most? Yeah, of course. And if that influenced you in terms of how you voted, or what you wrote to your senator or your congressman about military spending and what you think we need to do, if we're that scared of the USSR implementing communism in the West, then, that works. When you move into your groups, you and your group are going to answer a series of questions on this paper. You can kind of look over it right now, all right, and kind of see what collaboratively, you're going to come up with the answers. And it's a quick check-off list for some of them, and others you're going to have to go into a little bit more detail. All right, every group is going to receive a globe, and you have a packet of maps that represents the color slip that you receive when you walk in. After you've answered these questions, you're going to get a large Post-it note.
I would say it's I don't think that you should just put it like if you
Of course, this is the type of projection where it's literally the globe cut open. All right, and now the reason it kind of looks like a boomerang is what the map maker did. He cuts right here through the Indian Ocean, cuts right here through the Atlantic Ocean, cuts right here through the Pacific Ocean, comes up here to cut through the Arctic. Now, why do you think that's where he chose to put the cuts? Think back to the balloon activity. I mean, why cut through the oceans?
because they don't have any land.
Right. So the whole idea is to preserve what?
Oh,
the land. Right. The whole idea is to preserve the shape and the size of North America, preserve the shape of South America, preserve the shape of Africa. For places here. Now, Asia begins to get a little distorted. Australia's okay. Obviously, Antarctica is completely messed up because not only
very, very large. And on the globe, Greenland.
on your slip of paper, your exit slip questions are on the board. You do not need to write the questions, just your response. All right, question number 1. Give one advantage of a map and one advantage of a globe. Question number 2. Why are all maps distorted? That goes back to our second objective of the day. And then question number 3. How might a map projection be used to influence someone's perception of a place? And that addresses our objective about cartographic propaganda.
Just wait back this way.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend, ladies.
I'm not in the shot.
All right.
Wait. Thank you.